Sounds good. All right, let me share. Here we go. Let me go ahead and share the agenda. Hi, Josh.
Hello.
So I'm gonna go to my desktop, share. All right, hopefully you can see that. Can you hear me okay? I've been having some trouble with my microphone. Great. Okay, so this is our agenda. And I will be copying the agenda in the chat and also sharing links. But I first wanted to introduce us all. So I'll start with me and then everybody can take over. So I'm D.W. Wood, Online Learning and Ed Tech Coordinator for Clackamas Community College. I also teach first year experience here. I'm joined by my lovely colleagues, Hillary, Katrina.
Hello, everyone. My name is Katrina Boone. I am the Associate Dean for our Division Institutional Effectiveness and Planning and the Director of Online Learning Ed Tech at the college.
And my name is Hillary Abbott. I am the Online Learning Systems Administrator here at CCC.
So when we first signed up, thank you, ladies. When we first signed up for this, there was a lot of open information about Yuja Panorama, and it seems like everybody's sharing videos, which is awesome. The more information we have, the better. What I'd like to do is we're going to show what Yuja Panorama looks like with Moodle. But if you have any questions along the way, please go ahead and ask while we're going through the information. You know, this is really college sharing, and we'd like to help everybody out. So I'm going to stop my share, and Hillary, you can take it from here. And I'm going to put the agenda in the chat.
Okay, so hopefully, again, most people have started to see and play around with Panorama Yuja. We wanted to point out some of the things that we've noticed in Moodle, as well as some of the basics of the accessibility icons and what they mean. One of the things that we have seen in Moodle is you'll get your accessibility icons, your green one for a good document, red, yellow. But one of the things that we have run into is sometimes we'll get these purple ones where it hasn't been generated yet. And so you can click on that and reprocess. And then the other thing that we've noticed specifically with Moodle, and I don't know whether this is true in other learning management systems, but with our books, which have multiple pages to them, this accessibility icon here is actually for the description of the book, but the actual chapters of the book, they have to be processed separately. So in order for them to truly be processed, you would have to go into each chapter and generate the accessibility report for that particular chapter. Now, that's frustrating for the instructor because they don't know whether that chapter is accessible at that point in time, but the students, it does not affect them in being able to access the alternative formats. So that's good. It doesn't change how it appears for the student. It just causes an issue for the instructors. And so we've kind of recommended that they just go through and check each of those as they're going through. I didn't mean to do that. Any questions about the accessibility icons? Didn't want to spend too much time if everybody's good with that. The other thing that we've noticed is we love all the different alternative formats. The alternative formats that we've been using primarily are, obviously like the PDF versions. We have a lot of people that are enjoying the audio podcasts because the students.
Hillary, we lost your screen.
Oh, why did that happen? I don't know what's going on with my Zoom today.
No,
I still see your
still see
screen.
it.
Oh,
Oh.
you do? Okay.
I was like, it didn't say stop.
Ah, there it is. Okay.
Okay.
That's on me. Sorry.
Okay. So a lot of students will use the audio podcast because they can download that and actually take it with them. The immersive reader is also a really great option. And the language translations, we do have a number of Spanish-speaking students here at CCC, as well as other languages. So having the ability to have these language translations available for them is great. One of the things we did notice with the language translations, and again, I don't know whether this will, if you're on a different learning management system, I would love to know whether you run into the same issue. So most of the translated files worked just fine, but this translated EPUB, I believe it was it that one or was it the HTML?
It was the HTML.
The HTML.
Yeah.
The translated HTML actually doesn't translate.
Now that people are watching, you probably will watch.
So again, if you are on a different LMS, I would recommend checking that one. And unfortunately, when they
Oh, no, we didn't do it. Mhm.
and unfortunately, when I contacted Panorama Yuja, they said that one is not working. So they are working on it, but again, just something to look for in your systems. Any questions with the alternative formats? The immersive reader is one that I really like, and it's one that I think people won't necessarily understand how to use, but it does allow them to be able to identify certain things, change your text size, change your color, to be able to identify nouns, verbs, all of that, which can be great, especially for a number of different students that might have, again, English as a second language, being able to identify those nouns and verbs and things like that. So that is the alternative formats. Any questions about alternative formats at this point?
Does anybody have any feedback from students? I know that my students just are blown away by this menu. Any feedback?
So, I'm a bit removed from students as an LMS administrator, but in my encounters with other folks who do directly interface with students, we've had really good feedback. The students like having something available when our aider folks aren't available to do the proper translations or alternate formats availability, the proper remediations on. Because this is just kind of like it's kind of a Band-Aid. If you want a real, remediation, you go to the accessibility office, right? We did get some feedback from our accessibility folks about the Braille format not coming out correctly. And we're a bright space school again, so your mileage might vary as a Moodle school, but that's good stuff from us, I think. Faculty, the experience is a little different, but students are liking it, I think.
So they know that students actually, Oh, because when they screen share. Okay, that I was like, yeah, I don't know how to turn that off. Well, you could. Um,
We hid the icons.
you can hide the icons. For a particular user can hide the icons. The other thing you could do is, I mean, it would change you could change the color and make all the icons the same color and more use a symbol.
We're exploring this with our accessibility group. We don't like that red, yellow, green thing anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
that for an accessibility tool is kind of a weird color choice anyway, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's great. Thank you, Hillary.
Okay, so then let's see here if I can remember what's next. Somewhere. So then the website accessibility widget, how many institutions have put that onto their LMS? Or few, maybe?
Kind of have it available. It's in our courses, but we don't have it on our sites proper yet.
Yeah, and that's the same thing. We just have it in our courses. So it pops up and it will allow them to change the settings of the courses to support visually impaired. So there's the predefined ones that they can use, as well as to set specific adjustments throughout the course. We did change the color of our little accessibility widget because we wanted it to match our color scheme for our college. So it looked like it fit in with us a little bit more. So that was just kind of our own little personal touch to that. We just put this in this term. So I haven't heard a ton of feedback back on this at this point. But it is nice, again, to have this available for students. The other thing is that they can move this around and they can actually hide it if they don't want to have it visible by hiding it permanently here. And then they would have to go into their panorama settings to show it again. So that is an option.
Hillary, when you said you talking about the user or the instructor?
Any user, student or a student. That is specific to the specific user. It's not part of the instructor making that choice. That's a user choice.
So when you said if they had it permanently, who would have to then re-enable it if they want to get it back to you?
So
like if the student says hide permanently and they're like, oh shoot, I didn't mean to do that. Is there a way to do
so
the student do that or the instructor?
The user should be able to do it. It should be under the user setup or I need to go into my profile.
In Moodle?
No, inside Panorama. So
so if they're a user, they would click the Panorama dashboard within their course, within
correct.
whatever the
Yes.
LMS, and then that brings them into the Panorama dashboard.
Okay, that's the step I missed. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So for us specifically, because we don't have the Panorama LTI in our courses, we have it in a different way where instructors have access to it, but students do not. We would have to take care of that for them at this point in time, but that's something that we need to probably look into adjusting before too many people hide it. But I would assume that most people, if they hide it, they're pretty sure that they want it out of the way.
Josh said that Lane didn't implement the widget. Is that a yet, or is that because you chose not to, Josh?
Maybe a little bit of combination of both. Initially, it was having some conflicts with the mobile view, not the mobile app, but in Moodle, when you use a smaller browser size, it really started to have some placement conflicts.
Yeah.
And then there became concerns, well, if we were to ever enable a chat bot, it's sort of taking over that real estate, and it's that same sort of circular bubble popped up on the side. And then that spun into conversations about, well, the browser really should be doing that kind of translation rather than JavaScript, which is the technical, some technical things happening in the background to make it all work, and it's a little quirky, and so we never found good resolution to those. So at the moment, it's off.
Okay, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And it can get stuck, like the settings with it gets stuck sometimes, we noticed. And I think one of our folks on our team still can't get it to reappear. So your mileage might vary with that widget too, where I work kind of with Josh on the performance aspects of it, I think. So
Yeah, and I think we were trying to test it out and see if it's being used and stuff like that. I have to admit, like for the longest time, I had it accidentally somehow turned off on my account. And I was trying to figure out how to turn it back on. But I think part of it too is that as an admin, I have too many
oh my
settings.
gosh, yes. Yes. Like the multiple
And I'm like,
roles
which setting am I changing? Am I changing the site setting or am I changing my personal settings?
the tools get so confused. I totally agree. Totally agree. I mean, I think what a lot of Panorama's like greatness is that we all are kind of sharing too in our experiences,
Mhm.
so we can let them know when we have performance issues, like with the
Mhm.
widgets, like Josh is noting. I especially appreciate his comments about the JavaScript thing. I know there's a couple other PCC folks here, and yeah, we had a really big kind of internal dialogue about that.
Yeah.
What's really nice
Risk
is
analysis.
what's really nice is Yuja like responds. A lot of other
Yes,
tools
yes.
we get, we get ghosted.
Kaltura just gaslights us.
Yep,
We're like, we'll figure it out on our own. We got some band-aids and some rubber bands around here.
Exactly.
Yeah, I totally agree about Yuja. Yeah.
I might have gotten one of those Kaltura emails just recently.
We might
20
be in
minutes
the same
ago.
communities. Might be in the same communities, Hillary.
Yep. So that's the website accessibility widget. Now there's a couple of things I wanted to point out. And again, I don't know how this works on another learning management system, but at least what I've found with Moodle, there are some issues, especially for your HTML that is created inside of Moodle with the 8.0 text editor. Versus like documents and how the fixes get applied. So when you are looking at Panorama Yuja and you're looking at, say, a Word document, and you click on the little icon and you go to the accessibility report, instructors have the ability to figure out how to fix the issue, and then they can fix the issue inside of Word or whatever the original source program is, or sometimes they will have this option to fix the issue right then. And so if we click on fix issue and we want to add a title, and I'm not going to be great, I'm just going to add a title, and I add the change and I apply the change, it changes that document and uploads the correct new document. And so that change takes effect. Now, what I have noticed with Moodle is that if I do those fixes inside of that accessibility report in that way for anything that has to do with the text editor, they don't actually take effect.
Okay.
It says
I'm
it
sorry,
says that
Hillary. Can I ask for clarification? So when you make changes in the text editor, they're not sticking, but when you make changes with the alt or the accessibility report here on a file, it does stick.
So yes, sort of. So when I do a file in this way, it sticks. But when I do a Moodle page or a text and media, it does not stick if I go here and I go here to the accessibility report and I fix these issues. So you can see I purposely have some bad colors in here. So I fix that issue. I fix that issue. I play the changes. It looks like everything is good and it's doing its job. And it says, yes, there it is. And we are good to go. And then it says that it's 100%. But if I go here, it is not.
But this is
Hillary?
the inverse of the problem we have with Brightspace at PCC.
Oh,
The exact inverse, like the just like you switch that around where you got your text editor with things not sticking. We've got our text editor things sticking. We can't get
Okay.
our files to stick. And that's sorry, Katrina.
yeah.
No, that's okay. Hillary, there was an update button at the bottom of that screen. Does that do anything?
You can't click on it. It's grayed out.
Really?
So, uh-huh.
Just idea. I'm Andre Timken from BCC, Crystal's team.
Hi,
I was just
Andre.
hi. I was just wondering if the problem that you're describing, one of the things that we have noticed is that when you're fixing an issue, actually not the file inside of the LMS is getting changed, but a new version of that file that's being stored somewhere on Yuja server.
Mhm.
And then that thing is getting a good accessibility score, but it seems like in this case your file is not getting changed, and Yuja kind of doesn't know about that. Maybe not because in our situation that like a new file would be not put in a place, not like inside of the LMS, but it would be viewed from some other location on Yuja server.
Yeah, and I think that's what happens. I think that's more like with the files, but with the ones that are created HTML in our text box editors, the way to do it that we found that works is if I go into the settings and I use the accessibility checker here.
Oh yeah, we've seen, I think this actually is some Lomax might be able to confirm this for me, right? Adam?
I think exactly what you're
Uh-huh.
describing is the same exact way it's
Yep.
happening for us. If you
Yep.
use the like actual editor, like your like WYSIWYG editor thing here, then you can get the HTML to stick because you're actually like editing the page right now.
Yep.
But if you use the accessibility report, if you go back to the previous way that wasn't working and download the source file,
Mhm.
like the source file option, then you get the fixed version, but then you have to like re-upload it into your course. That's
Yeah.
kind of what we're seeing.
Yeah, and I could do that with the HTML. I could copy the HTML code and copy it over here, but I just think it's easier for faculty members to just know that they need to change it in the text box editor than
Yeah.
trying to mess with
Oh
them
yeah.
trying to copy HTML.
We're just trying to, this is us unpacking all the layers of it. We could never
Absolutely.
advise a faculty member to do some of these processes that we're finding here.
Right.
Sorry,
Josh?
Josh, you're talking over the top of you.
Oh, no, not at all. First of all, thank you so much for doing all this work because I feel like I haven't had time to push all the buttons, but you're discovering all of the issues that I'm like, oh, that's exactly what I was going to have to check. I specifically remember asking a question of Yuja about committing changes to a file. And part of my brain says they reassured me that the original file wasn't altered, but a new file was created. But when you back up and restore, it would refer back to the corrected version. Or when you went to download the course, it would refer to the corrected version.
It's like a facade. It's like a veneer on top of your actual content. And it doesn't, if you were to in Brightspace anyway, if you were to copy that to a new course, none of that stuff goes with it. It doesn't know how to marry that like fancy dress it was wearing that you painted over here. It doesn't know how to carry that forward. It doesn't, like Station's saying, it doesn't have any access to write files. So that I think includes the HTML files technically too.
Unless, like Hillary just showed it, if you do the corrections within the editor.
Yes, yes. For some reason, that way seems to work. That pipe's connected fully.
Interesting. That is a little concerning because one of our main concerns was remediation. We're paying them to help us remediate the documents, not as a perpetual service. So if we were to take those, courses and move them or replicate them,
Right.
that data is not, or that work is gone.
Yeah, and faculty are very unhappy when that happens.
Yes, yes, yes.
Station, you had posted something in the chat and you also have your hand raised. So,
Yes, I was just kind of wanting to chime in with something that is a little related here. So when and this might have something to do with what was just being discussed about this kind of new file creation. So I've noticed that when if I have a file that needs some fix, right, like that Word document without a title or something, if I do that locally on my own machine and don't use Panorama, I upload the new file in. We have Brightspace, and the I'm not able to reprocess the score for that file. The reprocessing doesn't actually look at the file to see if anything's changed. The only thing I've been able to do is to reprocess the entire course, which then deletes all of these alternative versions of the files that you've made for your course so far. So and just to kind of reiterate, it seems that it's able to kind of make these changes on files like documents, like the PDFs and Word documents, because it's creating a duplicate of that file on within Panorama servers, like Andre was saying, and then but it appears that like once it does its scan, it won't look and see if the files change. So when if you were to remediate any of these documents yourself, it's kind of stuck with the unless you reprocess the whole course and essentially erase all the stuff you've done, you don't get to kind of see that you've changed the document inside the LMS is what I'm getting at. So
Sage,
Yeah, so I'm just trying to like accurately track this and kind of break it down in my own mind too. So I took a note when applying fixes for native content pages in Moodle, the changes show as fixed through the report. However, when viewing the content page in the LMS after the fix, the changes are not applied. I think I got that right. And so, but then you also showed a nuance where if you apply a fix while in the editor, then it does fix it and does stick. And then there was some conversation about files versus native pages. I think Hillary, you initially showed that. You said that it seems to be working, it sticks, the fix sticks for files, but not for native pages. And then maybe just to, if I understood that right, so I've got good notes and be testing on my end. I recall having a conversation with Yuja last spring when they did a demo for us, and we talked about course copy. And we were concerned that remediation of these files and pages would not propagate into future courses when copied. And at that time, they told us that only Canvas allowed API access to replace the native files in the LMS. And so, yes, they would copy forward for Canvas, but not for other LMS systems. And this might be related to that as well. And I guess my question is, have you tested the course copy as well to see what's happening?
I haven't, because I didn't even think that could be.
I mean, you do all this work
Yeah.
and then you copy your course and then you have to start all over again. That would be terrible.
Does not work in Brightspace. We can fully tell you that.
Okay.
Right.
Now, when we talked with Yuja about it, we made suggestions for improvements. And I think at the time they said, what if we had some sort of notice to the faculty member that after they applied the changes to replace the native file right within the report, right within the interface. And at the time, that was like a suggestion.
So, okay, when did you talk to them about that?
This was last spring when we saw a
Oh.
demo of Panorama.
Wow.
We invited them to share a demo of Panorama with all of our colleges. So yeah, and we recorded that. So I don't know, maybe I could revisit that to go back to look at it. But that would be a very important thing to know too, is what issues are you encountering with course copy?
It definitely doesn't work for PCC at the time at this moment, and it is maybe one of the highest priority issues. Like we're only kind of getting through our second full term with Panorama, and so as terms start and folks realize their content didn't come over that they fixed last term, they are very angry.
Wow.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
Well, I think this kind of confirms what Station mentioned in the chat. Panorama has no right access to files on the LMS. And so perhaps like what we were talking about at that point was, facilitating that workflow for faculty who are on those learning management systems where they don't have access. They characterize it as a limitation of the LMS, like they just didn't have permission to replace these files.
Station's on my team, and he has actually called them out personal. Like he has pointed this out to our CSM that no, you actually seem to have all the appropriate permissions, and the API has that functionality available. You all just aren't using it, basically. And,
Okay.
it's nice to have someone like that on our team. You're awesome, Station. So like this is definitely something they know that they should have at least for Brightspace. Again, and we're speaking for Brightspace here. Moodle and Canvas seem like they have different.
I hate to be the person who brings this up, but is there an opportunity now before we pay for the remediation tool to, motivate them to get it done?
I know we're recording, but it seems like that's the reason why we're in the situation where we're gonna pay for the remediation tool was because like the other things were not working properly, but upstream of that, from my perspective, that's what it seems like.
Well, and maybe if I understood DW your question correctly, regarding specifically the PDF Max remediation tool, maybe that was your question. And I think that yes, we would have some, negotiating power with Yuja to fix some of these issues, knowing that we're trying to engage in an amendment to add that new feature to our license agreement. But we are also going to be negotiating with them to renew for the next biennium. And that's going to be happening here in the next couple months. So definitely we have the ability to influence change. So it's important that we're tracking these issues now.
Well, and I think it's great that like everybody's bringing their issues with all of the different LMSs that are in our group, because there are some things, I've played with some things and I'm like, okay, this doesn't work quite right, but it's good to hear some of the other things because I didn't think about the course copy. I haven't really tested that. I just assumed it worked. Silly me.
Melanie?
Hillary, I'm in the same boat.
Melanie, you had your hand raised.
Oh, yeah. So my name is Melanie, and I'm same with Crystal as well, part of Portland Community College. So I actually posted a blog post because I'm part of the D12 AIG, which is a accessibility group, and I asked them like, well, anybody has used Panorama with D12? Apparently none of them hasn't any experience with it at all. So I was like, okay, well, I guess we're all in the same boat. In this situation, like I said, like we're all brand new, so stuck together.
Yeah. No. Well, I was going to show one more thing, and I'm hoping that it works. And maybe this is kind of part of related to that. The PDF files, one of our biggest issues with PDF files is that they are scanned and real questionable. And so I asked our CSM, like, there's got to be an easier way to get these so that they're at least somewhat accessible. And so the way that they recommended that we do this is, again, if you look at this PDF, it's not great. It's really actually pretty bad, but at least to get it, sorry, don't hit back. Somewhat resolved is to change it to using the OCR. And I use the overlay tag, especially when it's really kind of skewed like that. And this is, and I'm wondering if this might also be part of the thing, but I wonder too, like if it just isn't saving it. But then what they told me to do was to go back into this accessibility report, and I could actually go into here and go into the alternative format that I just created for that and replace it. And then the OCR alternative format would be the one that would be used. And then you could do other remediation or fixes to that particular document. But at least then it's selectable and a screen reader could actually read it. So that was kind of the fix, because I know the how to fix that scanned PDF is not super easy, and there's absolutely no way that one of our instructors could probably follow those directions. So this kind of keeps them all within that system. And now I'm super curious if I click on this file, if it actually is the right file. It is not.
This is another one of those brain cells firing, and I could have made this up in my head, but I swore I watched a demo where it's sort of somebody went through the similar process and committed the document that they wanted to use, and then so what I'm seeing recreated here is something that is sparking a brain cell of like, oh yeah, that's how the files would then be committed to the course, and then when you backed up and restored the course, it was using those newly linked files, not the original documents.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought, is that's you do this and you select the one that you wanted to replace it with, and that was the version that you would use. Because you do still have two versions here, but for some reason, I guess when you click on the file, it's not using that current version. So.
Hillary, just a question for you too, for my clarification. So you just showed the workflow through the alternative format and replacing it. But is the workflow through just the remediation faculty workflow there? Is that not, you're not getting that option, is that right?
Yeah, so the other option is to take the file. There is no like fix it inside the system. There's a how-to fix, and so the how-to fix would require that they use Adobe, and our faculty members don't have access to Adobe Pro to be able to do that fix and to change it to an OCR. So really what they would need to do, they could do that same thing, that alternative format. So I'm probably going to actually change this because I didn't realize that this wasn't working, because I saw, oh, it's there. Is they could get that overlaid tagged PDF and they could generate it and download it and upload, but is that what you're saying, Station? That is, even if they upload it, it's still not like pulling that correct one?
Well, yeah, that's why I just wanted to clarify. So when you click on the PDF and it opens in another tab, the text isn't selectable, right? So, or is that what I was? So there's no,
Oh, but
there's
yeah,
no OCR here.
Adam was just noting, yeah, that when she clicks that, it's actually it's not the fixed file. And
Yeah,
that's why,
exactly.
yeah. So
Mhm.
it's the same problem that we're having.
Yeah.
Ew.
Because it seems like it makes copies of these files and it stores everything on their own server. So they live in two separate places, these fixed documents and the people and instructors' course content, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm seeing here is that the fixed file now is considered the source file, but when they click on the link, it doesn't work. Because I just downloaded this, what they call the source file.
Yeah, but that's from the panorama menu there where they can now put
Yeah.
in their links to their own files and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's part of the problem. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like part of the problem is that it's not clear at that point that, you know, instructors are supposed to download the file from Panorama and then upload it back into their course to kind of replace the file instead of
Yeah.
fixing it necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. So
And
this has actually been great.
and I hear a lot of instructors when they they're worried about their scores and they just want their scores to improve. They're doing all this work, right? And so when they re-upload a fixed file and it still has the big red, warning stuff, they get they're really frustrated because this is what I was mentioning earlier, where you can't like re-scan it and get the score to update. Right. So if you did fix the file, you're aside from kind of not using Panorama at all and never building up any of those alternative formats, right? Like you would have to do it all in the LMS and rescan your whole course to get your scores to change.
So if I add this file right now, it won't rescan it, or it won't.
In Brightspace, I have not been able to rescan individual files. It will go through the process and say rescanning, and then it comes back. It doesn't create, I don't know, it hasn't like created a new entry or it hasn't updated that data. The only way I've been able to get it to update is to reprocess the course.
Okay.
Interesting.
try
I don't know if
this.
this is part of the same problem, but there's definitely a lag for us sometimes in reprocessing. So even if the course you reprocess an item, by the time it runs a report and gives you like individual data on the site administration side, I've definitely seen a lag of a day.
So yes, I think I asked them about that in terms of the reports, and things not processing quite right away. I think they said that they process their reports like once a week. And so there's something with that too. So I wonder if we just waited. I'm gonna do this just because I want to make sure that I'm not. How much worry do I have to have here? So, look at that uploaded. So that was my thought, is I didn't realize that part, and hopefully this will work, but this has been enlightening. What else did we have to cover? So DW, do you want to take over for the course accessibility report?
Yeah, I was just gonna show for those of you who don't have Moodle or haven't used Moodle, just show where it appears in the course.
You're muted, DW. There you go.
Now can you hear me? That's weird. I pressed unmute and it didn't unmute, so I don't know what to say. All right, so this is a course. This is where faculty see it in Moodle. They go to reports. And then we have it up at the top. And I have different privileges, so I have to search for my course, so. Okay, search. And then. And then this is the information I get about my course. It shows me a chart of what's been accomplished and gives me scores, which you've seen before, you know, what the document is and clicking on the score to be able to see and remediate, but apparently the remediation doesn't stick, so I don't know what that's about. So that's the basically the only part that I was going to show is how it appears in our courses. Did you want to share what it looks, the report looks institution-wide?
Well, I wanted you to go back to that course.
Okay.
Real quick.
Sure.
Because another thing that we didn't notice, maybe this is just like Panorama has some issues, is sometimes some of the files in the course report aren't actually in the course anymore. I don't know if anybody's experienced that, because there's a file, I believe, at the top of the course report.
Let me share my screen again. Apologize.
And that has to do with, I believe, because the filter is set for so much time, that if there was a file that was in the course at this time, it still pulls it into the system as being there. And so even though the file is no longer a part of the course, it still kind of sees it as being a part of the course, because it was a part of the course in that time frame, that year time frame that you have set. Does that make sense? So like this would.
Up here is where the filter is for the dates.
So that would degree, certificates, lectures, it's not actually in the course. I think we've gone trying to look for that one and we could not find it, so. So that's been something else that we've kind of experienced, is that sometimes there's files that show up that aren't really there. And so that could be a frustration for faculty as well.
Station.
Yes, and the flip side of that too. So the document you just uploaded, Hillary, like scanned PDF one, I don't think in my experience on Brightspace, those would not be in the report either. So until the course is you know, rescanned or whatever.
Yeah. And they did say that too, like, so I realized that the document that I just rescanned is probably not going to show up until they do their scan again, and they said that happens once a week. So, any other questions about that?
And you can really change the results by using that date filter. So it's default. We were trying to figure out if we could change the default to be a month, because the faculty, you know, when they're working on accessibility and making those changes to their course, they want to see results immediately and they don't want to have to look over a whole year. So, but they said there wasn't an opportunity to make that change, at least last time we talked to them. Oh, Josh mentions that they get a report. The documents have been removed.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if I think about this systematically, I think they're trying to keep track of that data so they can report on it and show that the course is, the tools are being used and the course is accessible, but then they don't remove the data at least entirely, but it's still, like you said, it appears there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Station.
Yeah, I guess I never really realized that so if the whole goal is to make these documents accessible, but the links still open the unremediated versions, do students know that they have to actually like go through Panorama and open the click the links through the Panorama icon to access the, teachers are doing all this work, but are students even seeing it? Because what if they're just clicking the links in Brightspace, or they would have to have clicked the Panorama links to see any of, I don't know, I guess I'm just realizing that, and it seems wild. So
Yeah,
I feel
this
the
is
same way.
this is not going exactly like I thought it was gonna go, but that's a good thing. Because
Yeah.
we really need to ferret all this out and get this resolved.
Can I have a 30-second, I can't believe a moment?
Yes.
I can't believe that the icon in the editor still isn't fixed. And I keep on sending them an email message. I say them, but Yuja, saying, hey, your icon is still wildly disproportionate to the rest of the icons in the HTML editor. And they say, oh, we'll get on that. It was a problem in Canvas. And then I don't hear anything back. So I don't know if it's just priority, but it's just one of those things that irks me.
We did test it with tiny MCE and it does, it's the normal size.
Gotcha. So maybe it's just since Moodle is moving out of Addo anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
So did you want to show the institution report?
Sure. Okay, where am I? There you go.
Show me your
So let's see what we all got going on with this one. Okay. So we have our reports, our LMS report. We have been messing with some of the filters. This is another thing that I've noticed and I have reported is you can select by term, but it's not really on our term schedule. But we have our courses organized by terms in categories. But what I have noticed is the categories here don't actually necessarily match up with the categories that I have listed in Moodle. And I don't know why that's not updating itself. So that's something that they are supposed to be working on. But for example, I should be able to click on this term and see all those courses in that term and the accessibility score for that particular term. I think this is what I try to focus on, okay, what are the issues? Because if we know what issues instructors are making, well, hopefully we can actually just get ahead of them before they upload the documents. So what are the major issues that instructors are having? Again, scan documents is probably our number one issue that instructors have. So if we can try to at least minimize those issues, then hopefully we can make some improvement in our site and our the ability for our students to utilize these documents in a way that works for them. And so we've been trying to kind of pay attention to what are these issues, insufficient contrast between foreground and background. We've got some instructors that really like to have yellow text on white background for whatever reason. So trying to focus on those issues and maybe using this report more too as a way to educate faculty member on how to be more accessible to begin with, instead of just always relying on the tool to correct the issues later on. So anybody else have any other fun issues that they've noticed with their reports? Josh?
Hey, Hillary, I don't know. I'm not sure I can say much about the report, but I can say that the category is, I thought it was the number of courses that were scanned, like when you go to filter by category.
Mm-hmm.
But then I recognized it's actually Moodle's ID number for the category.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, that like category ID number 4544 should actually be the category, Moodle's category ID number.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it, so far the filtering seems to work for me. So I missed what was a little quirky for you.
So what was a little quirky for me is that these categories down here actually do not exist
No, thanks.
anymore. So I've removed them from our system, so it's not updating them properly. So in the courses category, I actually have created another category that isn't showing up for some reason. So that's where my issue is.
Gotcha. Thank you. I
Yeah.
thought I got it and then I missed it. And I guess we don't create enough categories to see if it's being the same behavior on our end.
Well, and it is weird because this 2025 winter category was created fairly recently. And it's there, but yeah, there's something that broke in that system and they haven't been able to figure out what has broken yet. So that the categories can update themselves like they should. I shouldn't have categories. Like, we are no longer with OpenLMS, so guess what? This category does not exist.
Right. Here's where I think it breaks, because they're trying to keep that data as historic, and if it's basically recorded that data, so it's not necessarily that it can't update, and it shouldn't lose it, because it still needs to retain that information for you for the institutional report.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of what I figured on some of those, and then some of them are just weird. So,
yeah.
But like I said, I've been trying to use these as more of a, okay, where are our problem childs? You know, when you look at this, PowerPoints and PDFs are two of the file types that we're really struggling with as an institution. So maybe it's about talking about how to, again, get ahead of it and not rely on just this tool to fix the issues, but to also encourage faculty members to make files that are more accessible to begin with. Sage?
Yeah, sorry, I don't know the answer to this, so I'm going to ask. Does the institutional report filter out files that are not in use in the courses?
I would assume that it would be the same as the course report, like DW's, that has that one course file that I know is not in there that we've looked for. We can't find it. So I would assume because these LMS reports are based off of all the courses, and I'm assuming the course reports, if the course reports aren't getting rid of some of those old files, then I'm pretty sure your LMS report is also not getting rid of those old files.
Yeah, I think that that's a consideration in terms of how it's accurately reflecting accessibility issues and the impact, because we know that a lot of our courses have inactive files, right, that are also not accessible. And so another good practice would be to go in and clean up those inactive files to ideally have a more accurate reporting for your courses in your institution. But then, of course, the reports have to reflect that too. Okay, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Josh posted, would you be willing to show the content report and the types of alternative formats downloaded?
Yeah, so here's the here is our content report, and then I think I'm still filtered, am I? Oh, okay. So the number of, and you can see, you know, the alternative format most downloaded is the PDF. But you have a few of the others.
Yeah, thanks. I was just really curious. Since we haven't really pushed the tool yet, I think people are discovering it just, through word of mouth, and instructors are saying, "Hey, did you know this exists?" But yeah, I'm just really, some part of me is blown away that we're using a tool to create more PDFs, and PDFs are sometimes the most problematic, and they're the most downloaded. So it's good to see a couple other tools sneak in there. I think the immersive HTML is probably one of the most impressive for some folks. So
It's interesting, our graphs of our data is very similar for the alternative formats downloaded from Josh. The
yeah,
file that you shared is very, very similar. Wow. The areas that are high and low are the same on both reports.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
Well, this has been really good conversation. I guess my question would be, where do we go from here? Sage?
Yeah, so I was going to ask if you, well, first of all, PCC shared their tracking spreadsheet. I think that's incredibly helpful. Do you have something similar? Are you keeping track of this? Is one question. And then another question is, how is your interaction with Yuja in terms of trying to resolve these issues? How is that going? Or have you approached them about some of these?
So no, I haven't had any tracking, and I really haven't, I did not realize some of the issues. But absolutely gonna start tracking more things. There are some issues that I've realized, and our representative has always been very kind to like try to fix things or say he's escalating things. I would say that, like I said, the category thing, I think I reported about a month ago, and I haven't really heard much back on, other than every week or so, I'll get maybe a, we're still working on it kind of situation. So that's kind of been my experience, and some of the things get changed and fixed, and then some of them, it's like I'm still waiting for it to get resolved. So that's been my experience, at least. I'd be happy to hear other people's experiences.
That's the same with us. This worksheet formed up out of kind of needing to have a high level view of some of the things going on and the way that they were affecting our different groups of users. Because different pockets of faculty are having different experiences and such. Like some of our administrator role users have different issues than others, but they still need to be able to use their, use the tools correctly and stuff, like our instructional designers and such like. So poking them continuously, we've seen a lot of improvement. It's just not where they said it would be, I think. Oh, they have Zendesk now, Josh. They have a Zendesk now, and they're actually sending responses out when you send a ticket in now. So you get a proper like Zendesk, ticketing response now. So it didn't go into a hole.
That's amazing, Crystal. Was that last like month or?
Well, I was going to say to my CSM when I submitted my last ticket last week, like, hey, I need a ticket number for this, and I got one automatically. So within the last couple weeks, I'd say maybe, yeah.
Okay, great. I'll submit that icon request again.
Yeah, I think we're in the same boat there too. If you guys need like a small army, we're, as you can see, the PCC folks are here in force, and we all have the same problems. Thanks for putting this together. Oh yeah, what's your CSM's name, Hillary? Ours is Diana Hernandez. She's really great. She's kind and she's pushy when she needs to be, both ways.
UMesh.
Okay, thank you. Good to know. Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah, Diana was the one that did our training, and she was very nice and stuff like that. So
She's good. She's knowledgeable and strong in the right ways.
that's good to know.
Yeah, she's been a good advocate for us when we need to, but she also will tell me like that's just not possible, but given our development environment or something like that, if that kind of stuff. So something to ask again in a couple months, that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is awesome. So nice to be in like-minded company.
Well, thanks very much for sharing your experiences and us meeting together. It's been eye-opening, but I'm sure we'll get it sorted out.
If something we do in this Bright Space community I'm a part of is we put together a big fella from Minnesota put together a big worksheet where we shared all of our kind of hot items and any ticket numbers associated with those to try to get leverage from other folks that might be affected by those same issues. And even though we're on different LMSs, it seems like we have relatively similar experiences. So maybe we can collaborate on kind of, I don't want to say issues exactly, because it's just kind of like features aren't behaving the way exactly. I'm a positive person. So maybe just like a sheet where we're tracking like, behavior and
Sure.
consistencies and things that we're working out with our respective Yuja folks.
Sure. So I'll commit to Hillary and I working on putting that together.
Oh, wow.
And then when we send out the recording, we'll include the link to that document.
That's so nice. I was about to offer DW, so thank you. That was very kind of you. You're fantastic. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Thank you all.
All right. Thanks very much, everyone.